wasting our debates again.
Sure, why not? What's up, Brad?
What's going on, Andrew?
Not much. Welcome to episode 143 of Auto Off Topic.
Excellent. Our theme of getting numbers wrong carried over to Instagram yesterday. I apologize.
Yeah, that's all right.
I suggested people listen to the wrong number episode to hear a story.
Well, it tells us people are listening because they know the episodes better than we do.
Apparently, yes.
I listen to them real quick after we do it, and then that's
Just to make sure sound quality is
Yep,
fine.
that's about it. But
Gotcha.
we were just talking about Malaise era,
Yes.
and like some people describe it as like 72 to 95.
So, specifically, there's a Facebook group dedicated to Malaise era cars.
Yeah.
And their definition is 72 to 95.
Yeah.
So,
And I want to make it clear, I'm not trashing them because it's a cool group.
it's a great group.
I'm
It's one of
just-
my favorite Facebook groups.
I just
actually.
have a different opinion.
in the
of the era.
cesspool that is Facebook. Malaise Motors is one of my favorite Facebook groups because they're pretty open to most terrible cars.
Yeah.
Because of the description of the name.
No, I have a different opinion of when the era actually is.
I agree with you. I think that 95, 96 is too late.
Far too late.
The thinking is that OBD2 came out in 95 and across the board in 96. So they're saying that Malaise era cars went from 72 when the gas crisis was hitting until OBD2. So that's why they say it went that late.
See, I don't think cars got magically better with OBD2.
No.
They stayed about the same from 1990 through the end of the 90s.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the 2000s. Even a 2000 car is kind of like...
Simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I feel like 05 is like the last true OBD2 car.
Okay.
And then they got kind of crazy, especially like in 07 when you had to add TPMS systems.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's just been spiraling.
Spiraling out of control.
Not out of control, but it's...
No, it's a little out of control. Every car has a backup camera now. Like, not every car
Federally
needs
mandated.
not every car needs a backup camera.
Everything has traction control, cruise control, traction control,
ABS.
ABS. Everything has to have it.
Yeah.
ABS is fine because some...
Yeah, I'm not disputing the technology is good.
Like
I'm just saying it shouldn't be mandated.
Like the ABS systems in Evos and STIs, the first ones that came here was very good.
Yeah, well, a lot of sports cars still have a decent system that doesn't... It can kind of tell when you're playing with the car versus not trying to die. So that helps. But going back to the Malaise thing. So the Malaise era car, 72 to 95, is the accepted range on the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Other arguments say that 83 was the end of Malaise era because that's when cars became computer controlled.
To me, that's when it makes sense.
It makes more sense, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because from 83 on, there were market improvements in cars each year.
Yes.
Like, a pre-83 5-liter Mustang,
Still
with a carburetor is a,
Yeah.
150 horsepower car.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
After 83, in whatever year, I don't know Mustangs well enough to talk on which year they became fuel injected. Was it 83, maybe?
They might have had a throttle body.
Anyway, they went up every year a little bit, and they
Yeah.
got better and better and better until the Fox Body Mustang ended. So I think that the improvements started then significantly. But the manufacturers were starting to figure out how to make power again after being like completely throttled in 72, 73 by emission standards.
Yeah.
And then the gas crisis.
Exactly.
So we talk about... we spent a lot of time last episode talking about your Cadillac.
I see the Cadillac as that's 100% Malaise era car.
It's the definition
It
of
doesn't-
Malaise era.
Do much of anything good.
It's excess for no reason.
Yeah.
It's a 500 cubic inch car that makes 180 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 5-passenger, I guess. Or is it a bench seat, 6-passenger? It's technically
It's got a bench seat in the front. You could probably fit 6
So
people
you can
in it.
squeeze 6 people in it, but it's a 2-door coupe that's 25 feet long and 5,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Like, it's not... The car doesn't have any reason to exist.
Yeah.
It just does. It's just
It's a giant personal luxury vehicle.
personal land yacht. And like, I think you were talking about it off before we even started recording, that it doesn't even luxury well. Like, it kind of floats down the road like a luxury car.
It doesn't have a lot of luxury options.
It's got leather seats, But
Yeah.
that's where the luxury ends. Nowadays you can get leather seats and air conditioning in a $15,000 Mirage. Like,
But it's like super cool because it exists now. So
yeah, it's turned the corner.
exactly.
There was a time period where you couldn't give me a 75 Cadillac Eldorado. But
But now it's like,
now I'd unironically drive one.
yeah, totally. And I will.
Yeah, exactly. You have the opportunity to, so you might as well.
But I see some stuff, and I don't want to disparage anyone, but I just see certain cars posted to the Malaise group, and they have the same problem where people are like, "Is this Malaise?" And it's like,
Yeah, it's just like Radwood.
it's like, no, stop, just
Yeah.
stop, just enjoy it.
Post it. If it stays up, that means that the moderators are fine with it, and talk about it. If
Yeah.
it doesn't stay up, then the moderators weren't fine with it, and
Yeah.
it's their group, their decision.
Yeah.
It's the same with Radwood.
Yeah.
Don't ask,
Just-
just post what you think is good. So the other thing that defines a Malaise era car, in my opinion, is their American cars.
Yes.
Because, the whole definition of Malaise is kind of like not caring, like just laissez-faire. So that was American car manufacturers in the 70s.
Yeah, I don't see it like. I was thinking about it today when I was driving the Galant to Cars and Coffee. I was like, man, when this car came out, it had all the technology that Mitsubishi had
Mhm.
at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Four-wheel steering, ABS, all-wheel drive, turbo, everything. And this was definitely not a Malaise car. Like, it had performance. It had, like, exceptional
It's not
performance.
American either.
It's not American either. And it had exceptional performance for the time it was released.
It's even acceptable now, performance-wise.
Yeah.
So what I was getting at, though, with the definition of Malaise and American cars is, I don't think that Japanese and European cars count as Malaise cars because they were the reason that American cars were considered Malaise. Because the American cars were here and they were the same since the dawn of time, and all these Japanese and European cars were coming in with better technology, better fuel mileage,
probably-
better power to cubic inch ratio, and it gave the American manufacturers a reason to need to improve.
I'd probably say from 1970 is when the imports really started to have a foothold.
They started a little bit in the early 70s,
they
but it was
did.
the gas crisis that really
Yeah.
brought them
Yeah.
full sail.
So they
And also it had a lot to do with the fact that
you were a real outsider in the early 70s, pre-gas crisis, if
Yeah.
you bought an imported car.
it had a lot to do with the fact that the era that was growing up then, people that were becoming old enough to buy their first car, had the money to spend on a car, weren't the same people that fought in World War II and were stuck on, this car came from Japan, or this car came from Germany, or that mentality was starting to, I mean, it still exists today, but it was starting to fade a little bit, and it gave the foreign cars.
Well, even that mentality is even different, where people don't want to buy Japanese cars, but they're totally okay with German cars. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, well, there's a,
You're like, oh, okay.
yeah,
A little double standard there.
yeah, well.
Um,
I've actually had that conversation with an older gentleman before, and his reasoning was Pearl Harbor. Straight up. That's what he said.
okay.
Germans didn't bomb Pearl Harbor. Nah, but, I mean,
Yeah.
there was,
There was a thing called the Holocaust.
yeah,
okay.
but whatever. I guess if it didn't affect you, so that didn't happen, huh?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a whole other story for a whole other day. So, but yeah, so I think that Malaise era cars are specifically American cars, and it really is the era of the mid to late 70s is where it was like it's extreme.
Yeah.
So the cars were just terrible. There wasn't any.
Yeah, once catalytic converters came out and they didn't know how to deal with them in
Yeah.
the beginning, they had to put them on there.
And there's your Japanese car being so much more efficient. You had Honda come out with a car that didn't require a catalytic converter because it burned clean enough.
So they looked for ways, the Japanese manufacturers, other foreign manufacturers looked for ways to make the cars more efficient to run without catalytic converters. Well, like American cars, they were just
Just
throwing
put a
them on
bigger
there.
catalytic converter on there.
Yeah, just because I don't know the economy wasn't that great at the time. Like they just didn't have the money to spend on these
Yeah.
cars.
I mean, we could do a whole episode on the CVCC Honda technology that made the car run clean enough at the time to not require a catalytic converter and pass all the same standards with flying colors that an American car needed to be choked to death with smog pumps and catalytic converters to create.
Yeah,
So,
and then of course because two catalytic converters were expensive, true dual exhaust went away,
mhm.
and that's where a lot of the performance went away.
The performance went away because it had to be there was another spinning device, the smog pump, and it had to go through a catalytic converter. And they also put 2-barrel carburetors and everything because
Gas was so expensive.
gas was so expensive. So it just went from you can see the drop down from especially 72 to 73
Mm-hmm.
in American car performance numbers and horsepower figures. So, but
Well,
yeah,
especially right, you get the late '60s where you've got manufacturers underrating their horsepower on purpose.
Okay.
And then
for insurance reasons.
for insurance reasons, because the cars were making like suspected, like some cars are making
500 horsepower.
400, 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
And then you've got, by the mid '70s, they're down to 150, 180.
And even less in most cases. That was the outside. The outside cars were making 150, 180.
Yeah, a V8.
What cracks me up more than anything else is it's no secret that I love Dodge Colts,
Right,
which are Mitsubishis.
right.
But if you went to a Dodge dealer in 1978 and you're like, I want to buy a brand new Dodge Aspen with a 318,
Mm-hmm.
or I want to buy a brand new Dodge Colt with a 1.6 liter four cylinder.
Right.
They made the big Aspen made like 15 horsepower more.
I know, it's crazy.
And it's sold in the same dealership, and just shows the disparity in technology. And again, another thing I always talk about is my first car was an 85 Cutlass. Driving in an 85 Mitsubishi Starion,
Mm-hmm.
you would never even consider the fact that they were built the same year. Because the technology in the Cutlass was no different than the 1964 Cutlass.
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that after our episode, our last one, where we were talking about the '75 Cadillac, and I was like, man, can you, like, and the last time the Cadillac was on the road was like '85. So those two cars were around here on the road at the same time.
Yep.
There's a possibility they like drove by each other.
They were both in Peabody.
Yeah, and like those cars couldn't be more different.
No, you talk about what the Cadillac lacked in everything. That Starion has everything that the Cadillac has luxury feature-wise plus. Except for, obviously, the floaty ride.
Yeah.
It's a sports car. But I mean, it's got leather, it's got air conditioning, it's got power windows. I don't
And
know
the
what
crazy
else.
trip computer,
Yeah,
like
it's
it
got the
actually
crazy trip computer.
power mirrors.
Yeah.
Actually, the
Has more luxury options.
Cadillac doesn't even have power mirrors.
Actually,
It's only 10
does
year
the Cadillac have auto AC?
Yes.
Okay.
It does.
Because the Starion does
it does
too.
have auto AC.
But anyway, what I'm saying is that my 85 Cutlass and my 84 Starion, whatever, the same car as 85, it's actually even earlier than the Cutlass.
yeah.
It just, there's so much technology difference in
Yeah, it's
two
weird.
cars. And there's probably parts on an 85 Cutlass that fit a 65 Cutlass. Like, it's
Yeah.
the same car underneath, essentially.
Well, a small block, right? So a GM
Well, mine
small
wasn't
block,
a small block, but
but
mine
yeah.
was a 3.8 V6.
But a GM powertrain would bolt into it from
Oh, yeah.
any number of years.
Without even modifying anything. Just buying a different set of engine mounts, probably.
Speaking of that Starion,
Yes,
we worked on it some more.
we did.
I think we talked about hanging the whole nose on it.
Did we have the bumper on?
Believe
last time we
so.
talked? All right.
Recap, quick recap.
Bumpers, fenders on, bumpers on.
Yep.
The
Bumper beam is
a
well.
little crooked. We still got to fix that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I need to tug that frame rail just a little bit more to get it in line.
Yeah. It's
It's
off
just
by
the
like
end
a
of,
half an inch.
it's just the end of the rail. It's not the rail back under the car.
Yeah.
Just needs to be removed a little bit.
We on one side the fenders. Well, actually, I got lucky. One of each of the two fender bolts on each side actually
Eventually came out.
Came
Yeah.
out. So we were able to reuse those. And the one side we were happy with, we just riveted on the
Yep.
other part because it had two bolts. But
Yep, so it's one bolt and one rivet now.
yeah, because if it needs to come off, the rivet's easy to
Just
drill out.
Drill out a rivet and put it back in the same hole and we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, and then we started to weld behind the driver's seat. That must have been a big rotted panel. Is that why you cut it off?
Yes. I probably cut more than I needed to because the original intention. So if you go back to when I first started working on that car,
You're doing a full resto.
and I was working on it with somebody who was very experienced with restoring cars.
Yes.
And he was going through the whole process with me, teaching me how to replace panels. So we cut far beyond the rusted area in order to replace the panel, just to make sure we had all clean metal all the way around.
Right.
So the spot we had to replace was probably, so from the transmission tunnel to the rocker panel, the inner rocker panel,
Yeah.
was like rotted away, like separated from the upright part of the rear floor.
Okay.
So we just cut like 2 or 3 inches away from there and then straight across.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it ended up being, it's a panel that's like 1.5 by 6 inches.
Yep, which actually was pretty good for our first like real welding job on our own.
So we actually
because it's a good
salvaged.
size piece.
We cut a piece of metal from the
Old
original fender.
Yep.
So it's kind of funny. It's the same steel from the car.
Yeah, it's all like you said. We can advertise it when we sell it later on. All
Yeah.
original metal,
Yeah.
just in different places.
Nobody's buying that car.
No, that car is with me until the end of time.
Also, I got a cordless Ryobi 4.5-inch grinder
Mm-hmm.
that you can put a grinding,
It's an 18-volt.
put a cutting wheel, a grinding wheel, 18 volt. Yeah, the Ryobi 1 system.
Yep.
Jordan actually turned us on to these.
Yeah, because they're pretty much giving them away. Or they are giving them away right now.
Yeah, at Home Depot.
At Home Depot, you buy 2 batteries, get a free
You
tool.
can put a flap disc on it. I mean, this thing, we used a Harbor Freight cutting disc, and it like ripped through that disc, but it ripped through the fender like super fast.
So it was a Harbor Freight cutting disc for steel.
Yeah.
And we made like 1 foot long cut in the fender.
It was
which
a
is-
4.5
very thin sheet metal.
Yeah, it was a 4.5-inch disc. It was down to like 1.5 inches.
Yeah, it was very small.
By the time it was done.
Yeah, do not recommend Harbor Freight cutoff wheels.
No, but this grinder, this angle grinder, I mean, not having to deal with an air hose, not having to deal with an electric cord.
Yeah, it's a good deal.
Oh my God, such a good tool. And I have the impact too to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the inflator.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's a whole bunch of different ones that you.
Yeah,
get
I'm
to go
actually
with
upset that I have a Milwaukee impact right now because I wish I had the Ryobi one.
Yeah.
Because of the deal, I just add everything else.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, the Milwaukee angle grinder is like 4 times the money as the Ryobi
Oh,
one.
this thing works awesome.
Yeah, for the money, it's great.
And
I mean,
then,
don't get me wrong, I love my Milwaukee impact. It's great, but
so we cut that out, cleaned up the metal. My dad's got a 220 welder. And we're like, now's the time to learn.
I'm to do it now.
Uh,
I've toyed with it before. Like I said, when I first
Yeah, and
started working
I talked
on the
about
car,
taking the class.
yeah, when I first started working on the car, I was working with somebody who was a very good welder, and he was showing me the ropes. So he taught me how to use the welder and how to weld, but he didn't teach me the nuances of wire speed, gas pressure, and
Takes
temperature.
practice.
Yeah, it just takes practice to learn all that.
We had a couple good welds, couple garbage ones, but the panel's in there.
At the end of the day, the panel's not going anywhere.
No.
And once we seam seal it and paint it and put the carpet back over it, nobody will be the
That's
wiser.
why we started with the interior one.
Yeah, exactly.
But that you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't learn anything by not doing it.
Nobody was born being a master welder, so
Right. Somebody probably was.
I guess
Somebody
maybe.
out there picked up a welding stick.
Somebody
and was
is
like, perfect.
Yeah, somebody is a protege.
Yeah, welding protege.
Yeah.
At 38 years old, starting it, I don't think I'm going to be a protege. I think I'm past protege stage for everything.
Yeah, but I think if you do it long enough, you'll be serviceable pretty good.
Yeah, I'll be able to make a passable weld. I mean, we already can. Both of us did make passable welds.
Yeah.
You know, and I've gotten work done at professional shops that didn't look any worse than, or any
Yeah.
better than what I just
Exactly.
did yesterday. You know, look at the exhaust of my Sapporo.
Outside the car might be a little better, a little easier.
Well, we're not going to be working with funny angles,
Yeah.
and it'll be easier to clean the metal.
Yeah.
So, but then instead of seam sealer, we'll still seam seal it somehow. But then we're just going to bond to it and sand it. You'll never know the difference.
Maybe.
We are. You have to.
All right.
You have to cover it, or else it'll just fall off later when it rots away.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
But
It's never going to be perfect, but the car's going to be driven.
I'm happy to keep practicing it.
Yeah, it's a perfect car to practice on because it's already ruined. We can only make it better.
Oh, we ruined it.
Yeah, we can only make it better. No, we didn't ruin it. New England Big Salt ruined it.
Yeah.
And
An
then
Ultima driver
and then
ruined
an
it
Ultima ruined it.
further.
Yeah. So it's coming along, one step at a time. I hope to have it serviceable by the end of the week.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It's a tight deadline.
I think we'll at least have the floors done by the end of the week. That shouldn't be an issue.
Having the floors done is a big deal because then the interior can go
We can
back
put the
together.
interior back in it, yeah. And then the outside can get done slower as we go along with it.
Yeah.
So I was going to be sneaky and register it in Arizona so I could just drive it here without getting a mass inspection sticker so I didn't have to like rush through fixing the outside bodywork.
Yeah.
But it turns out in Arizona, in Phoenix, you need emissions on an 83, and they won't issue you a permanent plate until it passes emissions. So the car's not in Arizona, so I can't get a permanent plate. So I mean, I'm sure it will pass emissions. It has all its factory emissions equipment. I'm not cheating emissions. I just didn't want to fix the rust hole in the quarter panel.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever, we'll get there. It'll work.
It should work. So,
I mean, it already works.
yeah, it does work.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
That's
It
why we're
starts and
doing
runs.
it. Yeah.
Uh,
That's an important part too. We got to fix the rust hole in the passenger side fender well, the one that when it rains gets the ECU wet, so it doesn't start then.
yes.
That's
And you got to replace the terminals because they're not tight enough on the battery.
Oh, that's a 10-minute job at the end of the welding day. So
I feel like all your cars are always at some point need terminals.
it's not my fault. They're just old.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Man, I just got wicked deja vu from saying that.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah,
Some things never
from
change?
from about battery terminals.
Oh, because we just did them on the
Felt like we've done this before.
purple car like a month ago,
We've done it on a bunch of them.
and the blue Colt last year,
Weird.
and the Camaro 2 years ago. Yeah, we have, but they're all old.
Yeah.
So different battery terminal size, different battery post sizes, and they wear out.
So I tried using Facebook Marketplace to sell my old Rotas.
Okay.
And yeah, I got tons of action like almost instantly.
This is a discussion based on our lack of Craigslist ads now.
Yeah, well,
Although you can still sell parts for free on Craigslist.
yeah, I know, but I've never had good luck. I've posted these wheels before for like $400,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like moving stuff around the garage today. I was like, I just want these gone.
Right.
So if anybody wants a set of 17-inch Rotas,
Yeah.
5x114
with tires that hold air.
junk tires, they hold air.
Yeah.
You can drive to the tire store
Yeah.
and have them replaced. $200 for all four, but you got to come get them.
Right.
And that's why I got them on Facebook Marketplace for.
Right.
It brings all the boys to the yard.
It certainly did. All the people that my favorite was the one you sent me earlier. It's like, I have a Corolla. Will these fit? And you're like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I live 2.5 hours away. Can I drive there and see if they fit? And I'll buy them if
I
they
was
do.
like, sure.
Yeah, you're welcome to. Sure.
I'll hand you a tire iron and you can use my jack.
Yep.
I'm not taking it off for you.
I'm not doing any work for $200.
Nope.
If these are $1,000, I might pump the jack.
Maybe.
Yeah. This is all on you.
I'm not tightening your wheel back down. You can do that too.
Yep. No expressed warranty, and if your wheel falls off, it's on you.
Yeah. But
will they fit? I don't know. Will they?
yeah.
Look it up. I gave you the size,
And
the
then
bolt pattern, and the back
A
spacing.
couple of people, I was like, I'm not, for how cheap these are, I'm not holding them for anybody unless they tell me they're on their way here.
Right. And even then, there's a time limit.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, whatever. $200 for a decent set of 17-inch wheels with tires to hold air is a bargain any day of the week.
Yeah.
Rotas are not.
They're in my way.
Yep. You're never going to use them again. They're out of your style now.
I've had them. So that's the other thing there. I bought them brand new in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, they're 16 years old.
Yep.
They look great. There's a curb rash on one of them. Minor. That's it.
But they're $200.
They're $200.
They're the best $200 wheel in the market right
They're
now.
not corroded.
Yeah.
They're not shit. They've never been driven in the winter.
I guarantee you won't find another set of 17-inch wheels in better shape for $200.
Exactly. And I just want them out of my garage.
Right. And you successfully sold your seats, too.
I did.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, I tried that. Those things, like, oh my gosh.
Well,
My phone like instantly blew up with those.
Because you underpriced them by $400.
I guess I did, but that's it's like what I paid for them.
Yep.
Because the other guy couldn't move them at that price, so I figured that's what they were worth.
Yeah, well. They didn't go far. They stayed in the family.
Yeah.
So it's fine. They'll be a Starion soon. I mean, what?
All right, cool. Seacoast Cars and Coffee was today.
Yes.
The day we're recording this.
Yep.
Sunday the 2nd.
Yep.
It was
My last New England Cars and Coffee before I move.
That was
So
very New England. We're going to talk about the weather.
Definitely had to go.
It was supposed to be sunny and bright, but they didn't count on it being, because it's near the ocean, foggy and drizzly.
Really foggy. Like, there's probably a quarter mile of visibility the whole way there.
And a couple points, yeah.
Yeah.
And not like a downpour, but just 100% moisture.
Yep. Which is also typical New England.
Yeah.
Just wet air all the time.
Mm-hmm. So, surprisingly good turnout for the amount of
I think it was
moisture.
packed. I don't think there was, like, a free spot.
I think people are just, like, fed up with the weather we've had this spring.
Yeah. They're like, okay, it's good enough.
Yeah,
We're going.
It's not cold-ish. It's 52, so it's
Yep.
not freezing, so we'll go.
Right.
And, yeah.
It's not pouring rain, so we'll go.
Yeah. And just about everything was there. Every type of car.
Yeah, from a hot rodded 30s Mercedes to obviously the brand new Camaros, Mustangs, and Challengers.
Yep. Some Ferraris, Porsches,
Oh yeah, everything in between.
just everything.
So there was 75% garbage.
Yeah, it's typical.
Yeah, and 25%. I'd say 75% garbage, 25% things that we'd look at, and 5% things we'd own.
Yeah.
It's probably a good way to look
But
at
that's
it.
the way Cars and Coffee works. It's show up with what you got.
Oh yeah, I don't hate the garbage being there. It fills the parking lot.
Yeah.
And this is a for-profit show. Like they don't charge entrance to get in, but they have like vendors, and I think the mall has something to do with it. And they have a coffee shop in the mall now.
I don't know. The mall is like, it's like the Stranger Things mall they're gonna have this season. Like
yeah,
it's
it's old and dead.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's the Fox Run Mall in Newington, New Hampshire. For anybody who's curious, it's an old mall for sure.
yeah.
Like it's an old enough mall that rent is cheap enough that Seacoast Cars and Coffee rented a storefront to put a coffee shop in,
Sure.
big enough to park cars in.
Yeah.
So, but it's not open when Seacoast Cars and Coffee is going on, which is confusing to me.
Well, regardless, they have a giant parking lot.
Yep.
Easy access to the highway.
Yep, there are probably 300 cars today.
Easily.
Yeah, without
It's
exaggerating.
it's actually probably one of the best Cars and Coffees around here.
It's the biggest for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely the biggest.
So, yeah, I took the Galant. You took the Colt.
Mhm.
Your dad came with the what Celica was that?
83 Celica GT.
Yeah, white.
Yep.
It's a minty car.
Yep.
Um,
It's only got 60,000 miles on it, I think.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
There was what was around? Was there 3 or 4 third-gen Supers
There
there?
were 4 third-gen Supers, 3 that were like bone stock with a 7M and everything,
Yeah.
and 1 that was 2J swapped.
Yeah,
So those were really cool.
and one of them was like, most were clean.
Mm-hmm.
One was like super clean.
Like showroom fresh.
Um,
Those cars are coming up in my brain. Like for a
Mhm.
while, they're kind of like, eh. But a nice, clean turbo car is nice.
there was a couple Mark IVs. The Mini we posted
Mm-hmm.
was super cool.
The black Chevy pickup
C10
C10, like a 72-ish.
Cayenne,
Yeah.
the wood inlay,
Yep. The real thin strip of wood inlay, like 1
and
inch
then
wide.
the interior had a houndstooth on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
And then he pops the hood. We're watching him. He's like wiping the thing down. He pops it down. It's got LS swap.
Which is the perfect vehicle for an LS swap.
And it was like dumped on the ground with a great stance.
Yep.
Like it was like street truck style.
It was cool.
Was it a long bed? I think it was a long bed.
I don't even remember. It was super.
Seam
it
long.
was super straight and super black, so it was nice.
Yeah, like mirror black finish. Awesome. That 54 Cadillac was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just a 4-door.
Big dumb car.
Yeah, it's a cool mix of stuff like that.
Yeah, it was parked next to a Type 3, Type 2. I forget what way it works. I think Type 3 Volkswagen Fastback. That was just like a ratty style
Air ride,
air ride. It was
dark
cool.
green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big steel wheels. Neat stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then driving home,
Right.
I saw a Qualve Mangusta. I haven't seen a Qualve Mangusta in person since they were like new.
I'm trying to remember what that looks like.
Think of the ugliest car I've ever seen, and then make it uglier, and that's a Qualve Mangusta. I think it's Qvaule. If you're Googling it right now, Andrew, which I think you are.
I am. Oh,
It's
I remember these.
it's terrible, right?
Wow, so 90s.
Yeah, there was a yellow one.
So 90s.
There was a yellow one driving down the street. Actually,
It's
here in PBD on my way home.
You know, it's like, man, it's like it looks like a catfish.
Yeah.
The front of it, it looks like it's got two little beady eyes.
Looks like the '90s Mercury Capri, and then like it was injected with air.
It was like a Mercury Capri, but then Panos is like, we're gonna make a sports car out of this,
Yeah.
and it gets weird.
Except it was some Middle Eastern guy named Qualve
Oh, weird.
who did it instead, not Panos.
No, it's Italian.
Was it? Was it Italian? I don't know what it was.
Probably
I thought it
Italian
was-
designed.
Well, Mangusta harkens back to the De Tomaso Mangusta.
So strange. What a strange car.
Yeah, I don't know the history of it.
Although it's like an unattractive FTO.
It does kind of look like an FTO.
Yeah, but the FTO is actually much better looking. It's just like a really weird. It's like maybe if Panos. No, I'm sorry, not Panos. If is it Pagani. If Pagani was to do an economy car, this is what it would look like. Right?
I guess. Just
Oh, the
weird
interior looks like a Mustang, like a
looking. I'm sure there's a
SN95
lot of
Mustang.
Ford parts in there.
I think the steering wheel is a Ford part. That's what that looks like.
I don't know, looking at pictures.
The engine looks like a Ford engine.
It is. It's a 4.6 liter Cobra. So
Okay.
they were built from 99 to 2002. So they're,
Jesus.
but they were clearly designed 10 years prior to that.
100%. I thought if you had told me they were built in 1992 to 1994,
They
I
made
would have been
284 of them worldwide.
wow.
So the fact that I saw one driving down the street today in Peabody was weird. It was a yellow one too.
Hmm.
I just haven't seen one since then. I don't think they're worth anything either because they're terrible. They're not good cars.
So,
Like they're worth about 20 grand.
man, weird. Yeah, anyway. Anything else?
No, maybe not a lot going on this week. It's been a very busy week with non-car things, so I don't have a lot to go on here.
No, just wanted to have a quick update. So, yeah, as always, you can follow us at Off Topic Podcast on Facebook,
Southern New Hampshire Cars and Coffee,
right?
June 16th.
June 16th is Father's Day,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your dad. It's probably more likely to bring your dad to Cars and Coffee than bringing your mom because the last one was on Mother's Day.
Yeah, it is funny. They both went out on the
Yeah.
weekends this year.
Yeah, you're welcome to, but
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody took us up on it.
I won't be there, so
Good.
Sorry.
It'll be a better show.
it'll be Bradford.
All shows are better without Colts.
I'll be at. Hopefully, I'll be at Cars and Coffee in Arizona somewhere.
Yeah. So follow us on Facebook, Off Topic Podcast, Off Topic on Instagram, me, Race and Anger on Instagram. Brad, where can they find you?
TSI SS350 on Instagram.
All right. Keep cars analog and go to Cars and Coffee.
Without me.
Aim for the roses.